Power, ambition, betrayal. More than 2,000 years ago, one man reshaped the destiny of the Roman Republic, and his shadow still looms over politics today. Gaius Julius Caesar was not just a general or a politician. He was a symbol of change, a force who toppled the old ways and replaced them with something new. His rise sparked loyalty and fear, love and hatred, and in the end, murder. But Caesar's story is not just history, it is a mirror reflecting the struggles of our own time. The rise of populism, the clash between democracy and dictatorship, the temptation of power that no leader can resist. To understand modern politics, we must first walk through the world of Julius Caesar. When Caesar was born in 100 BCE, the Roman Republic was already cracking under its own weight. Rome was rich, powerful, and feared across the Mediterranean. But inside the Republic, corruption spread like rot through the Senate. Wealthy elites hoarded land and power while ordinary Romans, the soldiers, the farmers, the poor, suffered. Elections were rigged, debates filled with bribes, and laws bent to favor the few, not the many. It was a system built for a city-state, now stretched thin across an empire. Riots filled the streets. Veterans returned from war to find their farms stolen. Politicians grew rich while the people starved. The Republic had the name of democracy, but in truth, the people's voice was silenced. In this chaos rose Julius Caesar. Born into a patrician family but not the richest, he understood both the aristocrats and the common people. He was ambitious, restless, brilliant, and fearless. Caesar learned early that politics was theater, and he played the stage better than anyone. He gave lavish games for the people, spoke with charm in the forum, and promised reforms when others ignored them. The people loved him. The Senate feared him. But Caesar was not only a politician, he was a general, and war was his true weapon. In Gaul, modern France, he led his legions to one victory after another, conquering vast lands, seizing wealth, and writing reports of his triumphs that turned him into a legend. To Rome, he was not just a man, he was a hero, a savior, a leader who could deliver greatness. But Caesar's real genius was not just on the battlefield, it was in politics. He understood the power of image, of spectacle, of speaking directly to the people. He bypassed the Senate, the elite who hated him, and instead won the hearts of Rome's citizens. He promised land for veterans, bread for the poor, and justice for the forgotten. The crowds cheered his name, Caesar, Caesar, Caesar. Does this sound familiar? Even today, leaders around the world rise by calling themselves champions of the people, against the corrupt elites, against the broken system. Populism, as we call it now, is not new. Caesar mastered it 2,000 years ago. He knew that if you control the crowd, you control the city, and if you control the city, you control the republic. But Caesar's popularity had a price. The Senate, jealous and afraid, ordered him to give up his army. They wanted him stripped of power, humiliated, maybe even executed. Caesar faced a choice: obey the Senate or march on Rome itself. On a cold winter night in 49 BCE, he made his decision. Standing at the banks of a small river called the Rubicon, he uttered the words, "The die is cast." And with that, Caesar led his army across the Rubicon, an act of war against the Republic. There was no turning back. Once he crossed, he could only win or die. Even today, we use the phrase crossing the Rubicon to describe a decision from which there is no return. Caesar had gambled everything for power. Caesar triumphed. He defeated his rivals, crushed the Senate's armies, and returned to Rome in glory. But he did not restore the Republic. Instead, he remade it. The Senate named him dictator, at first for 1 year, then for 10 years, and finally, for life. Caesar was no ordinary tyrant. He introduced reforms. He gave land to veterans, restructured debts, and reformed the calendar itself into the Julian calendar, the basis of the one we still use today. He made Rome efficient, centralized, and powerful. But for the senators, this was terrifying. They saw the Republic dying, democracy replaced by one man's rule. The fear was simple. If Caesar ruled for life, would Rome ever be free again? On the Ides of March, March 15th, 44 BCE, Caesar entered the Senate. He was at the height of his power. But as he took his seat, senators surrounded him. Daggers flashed. His friends, Brutus, Cassius, many trusted, stabbed him again and again. 23 times they struck. Caesar fell at the base of Pompey's statue, his blood pooling on the marble floor. With his death, the Republic thought it had been saved. But instead, Rome plunged into chaos. Civil war tore the city apart. Within years, Caesar's adopted son Octavian, later Augustus, would rise as the first emperor of Rome. The Republic was gone forever. Why does Caesar still matter? Because his story is not just Rome's story, it is ours. His rise shows how a charismatic leader can use popularity to overpower institutions. His dictatorship shows how democracy can die, not with a sudden collapse, but with applause from the crowd. His assassination shows how fear of tyranny can drive desperate acts. And his legacy shows that once power is concentrated in one man's hands, it rarely returns to the people. Today, when leaders bypass parliaments, when they speak directly to the masses, when they expand executive powers in the name of safety, when they refuse to step down, these are echoes of Caesar. Populism, strong men, and the struggle between liberty and authority are not new battles. They are the same fights Rome faced 2,000 years ago. Even the phrase dictator for life is no longer ancient. Around the world, leaders extend their terms, rewrite constitutions, and silence critics. Each time we are reminded of Caesar and warned of what may come when power grows too great. 2,000 years later, Caesar's name is still spoken. Kings and emperors took his title. Caesar became Kaiser, became Czar. Dictators study his life. Democracies warn of his fall. He is a warning and an inspiration, a hero and a villain, a man and a myth. But above all, he is proof of one eternal truth. Power is never given. It is taken. And once taken, it is rarely returned. The story of Julius Caesar is the story of us all, of ambition and betrayal, of freedom and tyranny, of democracy forever balanced on the edge of a knife. And as long as we struggle with the question of how much power one person should hold, the ghost of Caesar will walk beside us.